Minority in Parliament pushes for reversal of controversial Ijapa Minerals Royalties Limited Agreement, describing the deal as offensive to the country's constitution.
The minority side, we are patriots. We believe in Ghana. We believe in the right thing. We will not be part of an illegality today, tomorrow, the day before tomorrow, or forever.
But government has been defending the agreement, insisting the decision to establish an offshore firm will be in the interest of Ghana.
Why Jersey? Jersey because of tax purposes, because you may have some tax incentives here and there that will obviously be beneficial to the state.
Tonight we bring you details of the deal, here from government and civil society. And top stories brought to you by Bond Savings and Loans. Your success, our passion. Gasm, the nation builder, and Vodafone. The future's exciting. Ready? My name is Ernest Manu. Tonight, there's a push by the minority in Parliament for government to reverse the controversial Ijapa Minerals Royalties Limited Agreement, which they describe as repugnant to the country's constitution. The deal allows for the collateralization of Ghana's gold returns in exchange for about $500 million. Parliament has approved the agreement despite a walkout by the minority last Friday, and we brought you all the details as they unfolded in the House. We'll hear from both sides of the House shortly, but first, parliamentary correspondent Joseph Opoku-Gato joins me in the studio to break this down for us further. Joseph, first of all, give us a background to this deal.
So, you know, Ghana has all the mineral resources, gold, diamond, bauxite and all.
Yes.
Well, I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so Ghana has all the mineral resources, gold, diamond, bauxite and all. Now, we gain money from that as a nation through royalties that the mining companies pay to government, and also we earn money from that through what is called equity. So when the companies come to mine, the foreign firms end up giving part of that to Ghana as a nation. Sometimes 10%, it could be more, it could be less. Now, all of that money coming from both the equity and also the royalties would usually go into the consolidated fund, and the government uses it for various developmental initiatives.
Okay.
Now, what has happened is that in 2008, Parliament passed the Minerals Income Investment Fund Act, that's 2018, and that particular fund has been given the mandate. Now, it's a fund that has a secretariat with the chief executive and all the other authorities, and that fund actually now has the money to manage the equity interest that Ghana has in the mining companies and also the royalties that actually come in. Now, the fund is what has set up this offshore limited liability company known as the Ijapa Royalties Limited, which was previously known as Asasi Royalties Limited, and that firm is actually incorporated in the UK, specifically JC, which is known as a tax haven and also known for a lot of financial secrecy, and the indication is that there are a lot of lower taxes on various investments and all, and Ijapa Royalties Limited has been registered in Ghana as an external company, and government actually laid that particular agreement before Parliament for approval. That was on Friday night.
So now this special purpose vehicle that has been set up is to raise some amount of money. How much are we talking about?
So we're talking of an amount of $1 billion, from which we gather that about 500 million of that will actually get to the government of Ghana. Now, Ijapa Royalties Limited, which currently is virtually a government of Ghana company because it's wholly owned by the Minerals Income Investment Fund, will actually trade on the Ghana Stock Exchange and also the London Stock Exchange for private people to buy shares.
So now, as it stands now, it is 100% government of Ghana.
Correct. As it stands now.
But subsequently, there's the plan to, give up some shares, and we're looking at how much?
So that will be 49% of it is what would actually be sold out for investors to actually invest in it. Now, that sale would raise, we gather, $1 billion, out of which $500 million will actually come to the government of Ghana as a lump sum for various developmental initiatives. And then the indication is that when the royalties and the revenues from the gold equities accrue, now it will not come to the government of Ghana straightforward. It will go to a JAPA in which the government of Ghana still has a 51% stake, by the way. And now, just to be clear, the JAPA agreement actually doesn't cover all of the country's mineral resources. We have all the gold and the diamond and all, but then it actually covers gold specifically. And even with regards to gold, we're gathering that it's covering about 14 different gold leases that have actually also been looked at by Parliament again. And for each of them, the duration actually ranges, some for 5 years, some for 10 years, and the maximum actually has a 15-year duration. So what will happen is that henceforth, the royalties and the returns from the equity that government has in these mining firms will not go to the state directly. It will go to a JAPA as that limited liability company, which will then declare profits at the end of the year, and government will have a stake in that additional profit by virtue of the fact that we have a 51% stake. But that initial floating of shares will then raise money, out of which $500 million would come to government as a lump sum to undertake all the necessary development initiatives.
Okay, so let's break it down further. Government needs about $500 million to undertake various developmental projects. Now, this special purpose vehicle that's been set up by the fund is to raise that money, give it directly to government, and then what we are saying is that all the royalties that will come in the next 15 years will go directly into this fund and not to government. We will be paying for it over a 15-year period.
So that essentially breaks it down, that instead of raising this set amount over the 15-year period, depending on which of the mining leases you are looking at, then instead of waiting for that money to come in maybe every month or every quarter or every year, a JAPA would raise that money on the stock exchange
now
currently, and then that money would be handed over to Ghana for the various developmental initiatives. And then subsequently, when the money accrues, then it will go to the shareholders of a JAPA as their benefits for helping raise this initial sum.
Okay. Now, there was also the controversy about the name, the change in name. Initially, it wasn't a JAPA, it was Asase, I understand.
So that's correct. So it was actually incorporated as Asase Royals Limited on the 5th of November 2019, and then on the 10th of August this year, the Minerals Income Investment Fund actually applied to the JC Financial Services Commission to change the name from Asase Royals Limited to what we have now, which is the JAPA Royalties Limited.
Do we know why there was this decision to change the name?
The explanation we're getting is that there was a claim that there are a lot of companies bearing this particular name, Asase. So then, in order to ensure that it's a more unique name for this particular company, which is actually being set up in Jersey in UK and would subsequently have a Ghanaian subsidiary to deal directly with the government of Ghana, then the indication was that they decided to then change the name from Asase to a JAPA.
Joseph, stay with me. Let me take you back to the floor of Parliament. And John Napo, who is a member of the Finance Committee, made a strong case against the agreement on the floor. And this was around 11 p.m. Friday night. Listen.
Mr. Speaker, the question is, if President Akufo-Addo, Ghana was your company and you were the board chairman, would you bring this document for us to approve? No. You get $200 million per annum, and you insist that you want to take $500 million and cede $140 million per annum to a so-called SPV. Mr. Speaker, this is unfortunate. This transaction is opaque. This transaction does not meet best practices. This transaction is inimical to this country. This transaction is detrimental to the forward march of this country. This is another Ameri in the making. This is another PDS in the making. And the chairman of the committee said that we need urgent money. Mr. Speaker, when you took over, our debt level was 120 billion. Today, you have confirmed that our debt level is over 250 billion. You have increased our debt by more than 100 billion, and there's nothing to show for it. And just 4 months to election, having realized that you are losing the election, having realized that there's nothing to show for, you want to railroad and rush through a so-called 500 million facility. Mr. Speaker, when I entered this parliament, I swore an oath, and I speak on behalf of the minority, that we shall do what is good, what is proper, and protect the interests of this country. The minority side, we are patriots. We believe in Ghana. We believe in the right thing. We will not be part of an illegality today, tomorrow, the day before tomorrow, or forever. Mr. Speaker, indeed, we wash our hands clearly. This agreement or transaction is repugnant to Article 106, Clause 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Mr. Speaker, we will not be part of this agreement. But let me send a word of caution, and let me state that a future NDC government will not honor this agreement. Mr. Speaker, I want to take on authority to the investors that if you invest in this illegality, you will be throwing your money away. Because God willing, on the 7th of January, by the grace of the Almighty God, we will be on the other side of this chamber. We will not be there. And when we are there, all those who are perpetrating this, you shall be held accountable, you shall be held liable, and you will answer for your deeds. We are the good people in this chamber. We will not be part of it today, we will not be part of it tomorrow, and we shall amend it come 2021. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Thank you.
So that is John Jinafo, a member of Parliament's Finance Committee. Let's go into the phone lines now and speak to the chairman of the Finance Committee of Parliament, Dr. Mark Esibe-Yeboah. Thank you very much for your time here on Top Story. We also have the Associate Executive Director of WACAM, Madam Hannah Cranton, also Cranton, on the line. But let me start with you, Mr. Esibe-Yeboah. First of all, why was Ejapa not incorporated here in Ghana?
I cannot answer that one. To the best of my knowledge, it's incorporated in Jersey, which is a tax haven, and so Ejapa would be exempted from paying taxes on a lot of the things it does. So I think it's a smart business decision not to incorporate it in Ghana, but rather in a tax haven like Jersey. But as to why exactly they went there, someone else will be better at
and as chairman of the Finance Committee, this is not of interest to you? It has not come up at your meetings?
The incorporation of a company, does it really matter where it is incorporated?
To the extent that we are incorporating it in a tax haven, which the minority say has consequences for oversight.
Which consequence?
Because then it will be impossible, there will be clauses that will make it very impossible to look at some aspect of the company incorporation.
Which aspect? According to the law which governs all of this, the Minerals Income Investment Fund was promulgated in 2018. Just a month ago, an amendment was brought to the House, and the House insisted that annually the Minerals Income Investment Fund shall report on its activities as well as the activities of the SPV and Ejapa to the House. So on an annual basis, they will be reporting on the administration and activities of Ejapa to the House.
But Dr. Esibe, now when you look at a BBC report in 2019, and this is according to the Tax Justice Network, it says that the that's Jersey in the UK, is a Channel Island listed among the worst tax havens worldwide in 2019. That should be of concern to you.
I'm saying laws, the 978 as amended, requires that on an annual basis, the Minerals Income Investment Fund should report on the administration and activities of the MIF itself and on the SPV to Parliament. So when it says that they report to Parliament and there are inadequacies, questions can be raised. But at this point, I think it's premature.
Now, on the substantive issue of raising funds for developmental projects, why do we need a private firm set up by the Minerals Fund itself to raise those funds? Shouldn't it be easy for the fund itself to be able to undertake this activity on behalf of government?
So the Minerals Income Investment Fund is 100% government owned. Okay. The SPV is set up in such a way that it is not under governmental control, and it's for a reason. There are investors out there who are going to put their money into this. If they know that government has control and government can easily, at the press of a button, change directors and CEOs and the like, they are not going to put their money in there. We've had the issue of Ashanti Gold in the past, where government's hand in these activities led to a collapse of the company. So investors are not stupid. They are not going to put their money into a vehicle which sits in Africa, Ghana, and has governmental control. So NIF is 100% owned, and the SPV is owned by the Minerals Income Investment Fund too. But what they are saying is that if you want us to put our money in there, you have to insulate this from governmental control in the way and manner you appoint members to the board and how it is governed.
But doesn't that also have consequences? Because if government is not able to exercise control, in case the worst happens or something goes wrong, it is the people. It is government's money, the people's money.
You see, you've been fed a lot of information which you haven't really sat down to understand. What it is that Parliament has passed the law, which is the Minerals Income Investment Fund Act. We have set up a fund to collect all of our minerals royalties. So maybe make $100 million a year. All the royalties are paid to the Minerals Income Investment. These trickle in year after year. All that we are doing is that now the Minerals Income Investment Fund has set up a special purpose vehicle, a Japan royalties. This special purpose vehicle lists on the London Stock Exchange. When it lists on the London Stock Exchange, then investors are going to own shares in it. As it is now, the Japan Minerals royalties, government retains 51% shares. So shareholders, and the shareholders could be you. It's also going to dually list on the Ghana Stock Exchange. It could be you and I or somebody sitting wherever in the world. They are going to own only 49% of the shares thereof. So 51% retained by government, 49% retained goes to shareholders, who could be anybody. Okay? So if we list and then we are able to raise whatever money, the flows from the royalties annually that go to the Minerals Income Investment Fund and transfer to the special purpose vehicle go to pay these investors who hold shares in this company. And mind you, government retains 51% shares in Japan too. So this is serious investment banking, and people have sat down to put all of this together. Anybody complaining about it, I call it jealousy.
How is that? How is that jealousy?
People have sat down and put this whole architecture together, and you couldn't do it, and you think that this is a smart thing, and the only thing you can do is there's nothing criminal about this, there's nothing unfair about this, and we should hail those who have put this together. Instead of listen to this, in 2016, the NDC went to borrow money against the flows that go to the road fund from Ghana Commercial Bank. That was a loan. They took a loan from Ghana, from UBA Bank at 31%, and then the flows that go to the road fund went to service this loan. It's the same thing. Now we are saying that the flows that go to the Minerals Income Investment Fund, the royalties, we are taking. This time it's not a loan, it's not a debt sitting on government's book. We are listing. We are listing this company on the stock exchange. This Japan Minerals, Japan royalties company, the government retains 51% shares. So when we list and we raise whatever money, the flows that come in. So instead of government waiting to receive, let's say, $75 million yearly, sometimes depending on gold prices, it goes down to 60 or whatever. Now we are saying upfront, we are taking maybe 500 million, 600 million. And then the flows that will come on a yearly basis go to service these shareholders, which government retains 51% shares in. What's wrong with it?
Dr. Sibe, but hold the line for me. We also have on the line the Associate Executive Director of WACAM, Mrs. Anna Cranton. Thank you very much for your time here on Top Story. I'm sure you've heard the chairman of the committee and also the minority, John Junapor, speaking on the floor of Parliament last Friday. What do you make of this deal? Good for Ghana?
Thank you very much. And my first comment is that I want some of these issues to be discussed devoid of partisan political affiliation, because we are talking about a resource that belongs to all of us. So when we are having discussions, I would prefer if we look at the issues and then discuss that accordingly. Look, if you talk about those investments, financial instruments that are being brought to us, it's part of the global instruments which investors are now using to maximize benefits with very little risk involved. It's not a bad idea. My challenge, however, is that you don't shave me in my absence. Because minerals belong to the state, some of these crucial discussions should have a whole national debate for people to know exactly what we are going in for. And, this question of transparency, when it's flawed, cannot bring about accountability. And over the years, we have talked and debated how the mineral sector especially is not transparent. It's quite opaque. Now, I have some crucial questions. There is this issue of ethical issues to be considered. How are the monies going to be invested for us to have these huge returns? I am an environmentalist and I work with stability, and I want to be sure that the investment will meet sustainable development goals. And I want to be sure that we don't have the mess that has been created by mining investors in the past. So we need to know how it's going to be invested and who is going to invest and who are taking decisions to make sure that community rights, especially, and workers' rights are respected. Especially when you are investing in a safe haven, then you need to really know. What if we have such agreements in this time of our history?
Madam Cranton, we are having a terrible feedback from your end. If you have a radio set close to you, you may want to just put it off. So we can have... Okay, please go ahead. I think it's better now.
I was using the earpiece. Maybe that's what was creating the feedback.
Very well. We can hear you now. It's clearer.
Yeah. So the question is that why should we have indemnity clause and this agreement at the time that we are calling for indemnity provisions in the Minerals and Mining Act to be repealed? People want to know, people should be part of the decision-making processes from the inception of idea to invest or the decommissioning and then closure of an investment. Why should we have indemnity clauses and people cannot even question when later we realize that such agreements are not in our interest? Who are going to be the beneficiaries? Now, you know that it's not a fully fledged government investment. Yes, government has shares as the honorable MP and then sector chairperson of the finance committee is saying. But who are going to be beneficiaries? And who are taking decisions and what arrangements are in place? And all these things call for a whole disclosure that is not happening. I'm learning about many of the things that are in the agreement and what they are going to do, which will benefit me or not benefiting me from the discussions that we are having currently. And such questions for me, as I said, are very, very crucial because, as I said, the mining sector has been abused and we have not really benefited from the sector. So if we are going to use royalties and the royalties are going to be used for development and it is in our interest, we want to know.
I'm wondering what you make of the issue of incorporating this in Jersey, in the UK.
Well, I'm also wondering, yes, you can have investment and what have you. But if I'm a shareholder, which I am, because the mineral royalty is collectively owned, as I'm saying, I am a shareholder. I need to know what is going to happen. Everything should be very transparent for some of us who are interested. And we don't seem to know much about this whole thing. And so I think that there is a need for us to have in-depth information as to what is going to happen and then how things are going to vanish, especially if we are not going to have some of the setbacks that we've had with our minerals investment, where people touted that we are going to reap a lot of benefits from minerals, and if you do a cost-benefit analysis, we have incurred a lot of costs in the mineral sector.
Dr. Sibe, to the extent that the minority is saying that they will reverse the deal should power change hands, how do you react to that?
Last time I heard them say a similar thing, they said the sale of Vodafone, you will recall, in 2008 when Vodafone was sold, Ghana Telecom at the time, they said that when they win power, they were going to reverse the transaction. Do you know what happened? That is why we bring these things to Parliament. When Parliament endorses the transaction, that is it. So this is much ado about nothing. If anybody sees any criminality or anything fraudulent in this matter, I am all for it that it be investigated. So far as I'm concerned, this is one of the best transactions. Go to mining communities. How have we benefited from all of this mining that goes on there? And now we are putting together a transaction that is going to give us our funds, good money for us to put to good use. And anybody says they disagree, I think this is much ado about nothing.
Will Parliament be able to look at the issue of transparency, which Mrs. Anna Cranton is raising, for instance, in the whole transaction, especially even with the floating of some of the shares, which will be done subsequently?
You know the laws that govern listing on the London Stock Exchange. Even to be a shareholder, to buy shares in there, and all of this, the transparency issues, even the board of directors of Japan, what they are subjected to before they become board members. You cannot just put anybody on the board there when the company is listed on the stock exchange. So I think all of these are covered, and I'm happy this transaction has seen the light of day. I think it's about time we are ingenious and we put such transactions where there is no minerals royalties company listed on the London Stock Exchange in Africa. This is the first of its kind in Africa.
That's the chairman of the Parliament's Finance Committee, Dr. Marcus Ibebo. Earlier, you heard that the Associate Executive Director of WACAM, Madam Hannah also Cranton, speaking to us here on Top Story. Brought to you by Bond Savings and Loans. Your success, our passion. Gasem, the nation builder, and Vodafone. The future's exciting, ready. Isn't it amazing when your network cares about you so much that you do amazing things? They do amazing things for you. You guessed it right. I'm talking about the Vodafone Cash, dropping all charges when you send money to all networks. Yes, you heard right. It costs nothing, absolutely nothing, when you send money via Vodafone Cash to all networks. Just send any amount as many times as you want to on any network and you pay zero. So go ahead, make payments, show your love, make contributions, send money to all networks via Vodafone Cash. Dial *100 *110# to send cash for free. That's it for Top Story. I'm Ernest Manu. News Night starts now.